Welcome, everyone. This is the Public Safety Officer Workshop. Happy to have you in here. I'm Paul Huffnagel. I'm the 8th District Vice President for the IAFF. With me, I've got Mark Doherty and Monty Nye. They'll be the presenters today. Mark is the President of the Michigan Professional Firefighters Union. Monty serves on the PSO committee for the state union and has been working on a PSO issue for many years. He'll give you some background on what he's done and where he's been. And Mark's been working at the Capitol and working hard on preventing any state funding that goes into these PSO programs. But public safety, as I said, been around for over 100 years. I think there's probably 35 to 40 full public safety departments in Michigan. Basically what they're doing is cross-training cops to take our jobs, working as firefighters and not doing a very good job of it. A lot of their sales pitch goes towards the economic end of it, and that seems to be when this crops up most of the time, when the problems crop up, is when the economy goes in a tank or a city's looking for a way to get at and break a union, usually the firefighter union. We've seen that happen in numerous cities. Just recently I read an article, Anderson, Indiana, a city of about 55,000 with over 100 firefighters. They have the police chief looking into the public safety officer concept. So this thing is alive and kicking, and a lot of it has to do, like I said, with the economy, especially in the area of the country where we're from, where the manufacturing jobs, a lot of them left. Firefighters' pay is finally at a respectable level in most of these places, and I think these cities, a lot of them with the advice and the help and the work from the ICMA, the International City County Managers Association, I think that most of you are familiar with. They've actually done a lot of research, at least their type of research, saying this is a system to save money and help cities out and bring their budgets back in line. So having said all that, I'll turn it over to Mark Doherty and Monty Nye. Both of them are, like I said, have long experience in this and will give you good information and give you some opportunities to ask some questions and find out where you get good resources and support if you run into this situation in your city. So here you go. Mark?
Okay, you can sit this down here. Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? All right. We want to bring this program to you guys because it is something that we're facing in Michigan, and it's a huge cancer to the fire service. Huge cancer. And we felt it was important to educate other states before this happens to them. I'm getting a little too loud here. The premise, like I said, has been around a while, but it's never took hold. This started out in Europe, actually. It's been here in Grosse Pointe for quite a few years, which is in Michigan. And the premise never took off because it's not a system that works well. It's predominantly in very affluent, low call volume areas. And you'll see a lot of that when we talk about it, why it's that way. But first of all, how many here have dealt with this type of system in your state? Have seen it? You have? Okay, what state are you from? California, yeah, there's some. There's about 125 nationwide. There's 35 in Michigan. The next state with the highest amount is Florida at 8. The rest of the states have 1 to 2 to maybe 3. It's not very prevalent. But in Michigan, what we saw was when times get hard, and you're going to talk about this many times throughout the presentation, when times get hard and police face layoffs and budget cuts, this is their go-to system. This is how they stay in business, is to gut us. You know, we had one example of a community that was told you've got to cut 10 out of police, 10 out of fire. The answer to police was, or the answer from the police were, lay off 20 of them and train us to be cops, and everything will be all right. So the system is bad. We're going to explain why. On paper, sometimes it looks good to city leaders. The police officers push it. ICMA is nationwide. They push this also. And it's based on flawed research. It's based on facts that aren't true, that never develop themselves. Any cost savings have never been shown by a department that's actually running it. It's all early on. So we're going to show you all this stuff as we go along. All right, this is an example picture. Oops. Little AV problems here. You need to set it over here, actually. There we go. This is a real picture in our communities, one of our communities in Michigan. This is a police officer trying to fight a fire. PSO officer, more or less. PSO is a term we use, public safety officer. It references cross-trained police officers as firefighters. So we use those interchangeably.
I know what you did.
Hold on a second. Which one? Hit this one?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I did wrong. We've seen this through the century. Every time that budget cuts start is when you start to see this system pop up. Again, the police use it to protect their own, and it doesn't save money, but yet it always pops its head during these tough times. The last time was in the late 80s, early 90s. This is a way they feel they're going to benefit or balance their budget. A lot of times people say consolidation is the key, and they call this a consolidation. But just because you use the word consolidation doesn't mean it actually saves money or it's the right thing to do. So we tend to, in Michigan, the first thing we learned is we don't call PSO consolidation. It's cross-training. It's not consolidation. We generalize these types of cross-training or PSO departments in 4 categories. Full consolidation is how we see many of the ones we have. They have gone and trained all their police officers to be firefighters and gotten rid of all our firefighters. Now, we haven't seen one go a full consolidation in this recent trend, but back in the 80s, we saw many of them did that. And what they tend to do is phase us out over time and then end up with this full consolidation. That means they have no firefighters at all on duty except those police officers that are cross-trained. And we're going to get into why that system doesn't work, why a cross-trained police officer cannot fulfill the same level of service as a regular firefighter. Partial consolidation is what we see the most of right now. We've had, I think it's 5 locals right now that have transitioned to a PSO department in the last 2 years. What they do is they got our staffing so bad to the point where we were down to, in some cases, 1 firefighter per day in several of our communities. And what they do is they supplement you with these police officers. Now they'll tell these police officers, send them to a basic fire academy and say that you are the same level as that firefighter in that station. They have no other training, nothing besides that. And we'll get into the training aspect. They don't train. So they're never going to get to the level of a career firefighter. A lot of the things you're going to see here as a career firefighter will make you sick by watching some of these videos we show you and the pure lack of regard for our service and what we provide. Functional consolidation, that's where they do integrate some aspects of it. They pretty much keep the separate departments, but they'll cross-train some to do various jobs. We've even saw one fire department we're told to do, police safety patrols at night. They wanted them to drive around at night instead of sleep and actually do something because they felt that's a productive way to handle it. Police, their model in Michigan right now, what they keep saying is suburban fire departments are no longer sustainable. No longer can we let firemen sleep and barbecue all day long in the fire stations. We can't pay for it. That's the police model that they're using to push this, which we know that's completely false. Administrative consolidation. This is actually seen a lot more. We don't count in the 35 PSO departments we have in Michigan, we don't count administrative consolidation. What that means is basically you have a police chief and a fire chief, you eliminate one of them, make a public safety director. Everything else stays the same. And in most cases, you still have a fire chief, but you got a police chief that's over him administratively, or they call him a deputy chief of fire services or something like that. We don't include those because they're still, the core functions are the same. They tend to still operate the same. It's just the budget's done by the big guy at the top. You will see, though, a lack of attention. If you got your police chiefs as a public safety director, which that's always the case, they don't make fire chiefs over a police department. They only do the police chiefs over us. You're going to see lack of enthusiasm to budget anything for the fire side. So you start to get your legs cut off from money. There are some perceived pros to consolidation. And this is the things you're going to face because arguments are going to be made that this system does work. And on paper, like I said, it may look like it does work. But we have to counter those, and we'll show you why they don't. They always talk about a higher standard and lower cost. Here's an example. I'm not going to read it for you, but go ahead and read that. This is from a study done by a Grand Rapids police officer on his thesis. The ironic thing here is he talks about going public safety in the city of Grand Rapids. He cites Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo is the largest public safety department in the nation at about 75,000 residents and about 360 at one point PSO officers. They used to tout this system as the paramount system in the country, and they're used as the model. They've proven, the ironic thing with this one is this guy that wrote this, his dad is the city manager in Kalamazoo. Even in his entire study shows it doesn't save money, it doesn't work. They try to say it improves fire protection. These guys will come in and they'll argue that, well, I'm on the street, and I got all my gear in my car, and I got an extinguisher, and I'll get there in the incipient stage of firefighting, and I'm going to get there and put this fire out. It's not the case at all, and we'll go through why. To reduce fire response. This is what we call a PSO spot in a hydrant. This happened on a fire, and he was trying to park his car. That hydrant was taken out of service. That house burnt to the ground. This is in Grosse Pointe. This house was, I think, what, 10,000 square feet or something, or 8,000. It was a huge house, and the house burned to the ground. They cited water supply issues as a reason it burned to the ground. I can imagine why. They try to say it creates a greater number of trained firefighters. And they'll come, and once they train their police officers, they'll say, I have more firefighters on the street now, ready to go every day than I did before. And that's after usually taking 2/3 of the fire staffing away. And they'll say those police officers are the ones that actually are the firefighters. Well, they're never available. Never. And that's the problem. When we have these PSO departments, when our firefighters now respond with 1 or 2 guys, they don't have an assembled team to fight this fire. They get maybe 1 or 2 guys from PSO, even though there's like 15 on the street. They don't get them because police departments have their own job to do, and they can't drop that job. And remember, what precipitates this whole discussion is cities that are hurting, cities that have already reduced staffing, cities that already don't have enough cops to do the job, don't have enough firemen to do the job, and this is their answer. So if you don't have enough cops to start with, you can't add this whole new workload onto them and then all of a sudden have enough cops to do all this. To reduce non-productive time for firefighters, again, sleeping and barbecuing in the station. We don't sell ourselves enough. And this is something we have to talk about back in our stations. You ask anybody what we do, they say we fight fire. Maybe they'll say we go on medicals. Beyond that, nobody has a clue. That is a reality we face with our residents because we don't go in and brag about what we do. It's a culture. But we have to sell ourselves. You have to show what you do above and beyond that because the police aren't going to sell it for you. They're going to make you out to be that guy sleeping all day long. So you have to make sure that you get out there and let them know early on what's going on if you're facing a threat or anytime. To create a greater number of trained police officers. In better times, they'll actually increase their staffing and cite, I got these responsibilities of firefighting now to have more cops on the street. But the reality is they end up having the same number, and the only thing that gets gutted is our service. Their service isn't any better, it's the same, but we're gutted. Even Kalamazoo cited that their PSO officers do 95% police work, 5% fire. We'll switch to mine, he's gonna take over for the cons.
I'm just going to switch back and forth, give you a little history. I'm Monty Nye. I'm from local 1600 Meridian Township, Michigan. We went public safety back in 1996. We had 42 individuals on the fire and suppression, and we dropped down to 17. We stayed fighting it. After a year and a half, we were able to prevail, get it turned around, and go back to traditional police and fire, saving the township money in the process. So I've been studying public safety for about 15 years now, so pretty versed on it. We've really gotten busy, like Mark has said, in Michigan as of late. One of the cons of it is the neglect of the total fire safety program. And we're going to break these down individually as we go along. Studies in Michigan that we have done about the costs. And we took a medium-sized or a large department, a medium-sized, and a small department, and compared them with similar demographic departments, so we could actually compare apples to apples. And the dollar amounts we're talking up here are minimums. You could actually cut staffing back more, but we wanted to keep it apples to apples. And Kalamazoo, being the largest, would say $7.8 million annually if they were to switch back to traditional police and fire. Oak Park, one of the oldest in the country as well, 1.2, and Grand Haven, small community. Even that small community, I'm sure, could use that $750,000 if they were to switch back. I mean, this in itself shows you that it's not about the cost factor. Low morale, some good examples of that, creates high turnover as well. Inadequate training, and hand in hand with that, obviously, is the inadequate on-the-job experience. A little hard to get that if you're actually out doing the law enforcement aspect of the public safety job. Loss of firefighting team concept. We have some great examples of that we'll bring forward. Role conflicts. Failure to meet the demand for fire and police services. These communities that go public safety tend to rely on communities that are close to them, that are a little bit larger, and rely on the mutual aid to get through their day-to-day operations, let alone when they have fires. And failure to comply with mandated workplace safety guidelines. We see that in every public safety department we've looked at. I mean, you can see that in the pictures that we'll show as we go through this. And this is an example. It's an audio. It's the dispatch audio, so there's some pictures in with it that kind of shows all of that wrapped into one, a breakdown. We'll start with this. Set the background for you. It's just after midnight. It's middle of the night. This is Benton Harbor, Michigan. They'd just gone public safety, one firefighter on duty. There were multiple PSOs that were on duty. And there's a portion of it as we go along. I'll go ahead and start it. There's a portion of it that you might ask, well, why is that even in there, the call that's on there? And it's the...
Before you start, real quick, I just want to add, this is an IFF local. This is local. It used to be 17 guys. Within 2 years, they were down to 3, 1 per shift. And this was a state-imposed PSO system. Our governor took this city over under emergency manager and laid off all our guys except these 3. So 1 guy on duty, and picture yourself in this guy's same situation. And you go through this. I think I got to back up.
We actually did have it all worked out. There it goes. Is that coming out in there?
No. Back it up. Here, get this.
I don't know. They got us plugged in, but apparently it's not
Green County Assessment Fire request to be at 1034 Jennings, 1034 Jennings, across of Walden, Maya, for a structure fire. The garage is on fire. Advise on service.
Can you hear that now?
033.
11. 14.
Just letting you guys know we got a structure fire at 1034 Jennings, 1034 Jennings. Medic and fires en route.
Dragon 6610.
6610.
We got smoke coming from the garage. I don't see any flames at this time.
Clear and just smoke from the garage.
Harry, can you dispatch from Benton Harbor 53?
53, go ahead.
That's our fire.
53's en route with 1.
That's Lieutenant Doug Bell getting en route by himself with a fire engine.
They said that they can only do smoke at this time, no flame shot.
Already 1 PSO on scene.
Clear.
Marion County 911, what is the address of your emergency?
I'm at 994, Pearl.
Oh, 994 Pearl?
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on there?
My boy owned the house across the
This has
street.
nothing to do with the
Across
fire.
Family at 997 Pearl.
Uh-huh.
And the next door neighbor got a mechanic shop, illegal mechanic shop going on. And they keep on throwing tires and garbage and shit in his yard.
Okay, why isn't he calling?
Because I'm calling because he had told me to stay there at his house. So I couldn't stay there because the electricity got knocked out by a storm. So I just had an argument with him about them throwing garbage and shit in his yard, you know. And then they threatened to come over to my house across the street and do something to me.
I know it's kind of hard to hear.
What did they say?
What this is a garbage complaint. We talk about the relevancy because it's going on at the exact same time as the fire. And what you're going to find, you're going to hear in this, and you can hear some PSOs calling a row. There were 3 police officers who went to this garbage complaint that actually occurred the day before. He's calling about something that occurred the day before. This is at like 12:30 at night. He's pissed off about his garbage being dumped in his driveway or yard. So he's calling. So 2 police officers on the road go to that. 1 other PSO officer here that'll clear the fire scene. Now our firefighter's not even on the scene yet. They've got a garage fire. He leaves that scene to go to this garbage complaint.
1034.
Trying to get it,
It's
well, we're having some AV difficulties. Let's try one other thing.
Apologize, we're hard to embed videos and
We didn't get to really get in and test drive it before we got in.
just play it again.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
1034 Jennings. It's the garage is on fire out there. We need the fire department.
1034 Jennings.
County attention, Baton River Fire, request for you at 1034 Jennings, 1034 Jennings, across of Walden, Maya, for a structure fire. The garage is on fire. Advise on service experience clear, 033.
I keep switching.
11. 14.
Just letting you guys know we got a structure
All right, with this
fire
far
at
forward into it,
103
we'll go ahead and let it go on,
Jennings. Medic and fire is en route.
because I think we'll just lose it again.
Mary from 6610.
6610.
We got smoke coming from the garage. I don't see any flames at this time.
Clear and just smoke from the garage.
Fairview County Dispatch from Baton River 53.
53, go ahead.
53's en route with 1.
Clear en route with 1, and just to advise, CD's on scene. They said that they can only do smoke at this time, no flames yet.
Go ahead.
Marion County 911, what is the address of your emergency?
I'm at 994, Pearl.
Oh, 994 Pearl?
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on there?
My boy owned the house across the street, and his family had 997 Pearl. And the next door neighbor got a mechanic shop, illegal mechanic shop going on, and they keep on throwing tires and garbage and shit in his yard.
Okay, why isn't he calling?
Because I'm calling because he had told me to stay there at his house. So I couldn't stay there because the electricity got knocked out by a storm. So I just had an argument with him about them throwing garbage and shit in his yard, you know. And then they threatened to come over to my house across the street and do something to me.
What did they say exactly?
They come over here and blow my goddamn house up.
Okay, we'll get somebody out there as soon as we can, okay?
Right, because it's a legal mechanic shop going on across there, and they throwing tires and boards,
Okay.
you know, all kind of garbage and stuff in my partner's yard.
Okay, I understand that. We'll get somebody out there to you, okay?
And then yesterday, some kids, some young boys, they wasn't kids though, they were young men, ran from their yard over here, ran through my house and stole my pack of meat out of my house.
Okay, why didn't you call about this yesterday?
Because I was scared. So I see right now, I'm keep on having problems robbing them, you know.
Okay,
And
well,
they got an illegal mechanic shop going over
okay,
there.
I
and they
understand
got
about
drug
the
boys
legal
coming to get
mechanic.
their cars worked now.
Sir, I understand about the legal mechanic shop, okay?
Yeah.
We got an officer on the way, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Now we'll get back into ours.
Fairview County Dispatch from Baton River 53.
53.
On scene, heavy smoke showing from the garage.
Doug Bell showing up, basically now they know they got a working fire.
6614.
You have a disturbance at 994 Pearl. 994 Pearl. Callers, it's advising that their neighbors throwing tires and trash into their yard and threatening the caller.
10-4. 6613 from 14. I gotta head over to Pearl. Clear. Hearing from 6614.
6614.
You can show me out on Pearl.
Quarantine.
Variant 6611.
11.
I'm gonna clear Jennings and I'll head over to Pearl.
First PSO officer leaving the fire scene, heading to this complaint that is basically from the day before.
6613.
I'll be clear Jennings as well.
Second PSO officer leaving, heading over to that other call.
Variant 6611.
Go ahead.
Myself and 13 will be out for the 14.
Louis?
Now at this point, Doug Bell's going in, doesn't know if the house is occupied or not. Middle of the night, he's going in. She's trying to raise him, she can't. That's Doug Bell inside that garage, can't get out. That's his mic has melted into the open position. Two PSOs that were left at the scene were standing up by the truck. One just had a coat on. The other one is full turnout gear. There's the steps. He opened that door. The steps were real narrow, fell down into it, and it actually, the door hit the railing of the overhead door, so it would only open about a foot. He wasn't able to get back out. The point of the first part is to show you that the PSOs, they don't want to fight fire. They will do whatever they have to clear the scene of a working fire and get away from it.
6612 from Green.
Dispatch is just upset because they've got an open mic. They aren't worried about checking.
He's out at the fire. He probably can't hear you. Would you?
I was just going to see if you could let him know one of the firemen's got an open mic on S911.
One of the firemen, there's only one.
Yeah, Brown, slide over there.
Clear, thanks.
911, what's the answer to your emergency? 911, what's the answer to your emergency?
It's a fight right here. That's my second time calling. The fireman's down and shit. Y'all need to get to my house fire.
Where at, ma'am?
The county Rocky Jennings' house is on fire. Now we got one fire truck out here. The fireman down. Can we get some help, please?
What do you mean a fireman's down?
She broke it. I don't know, the house on blaze. We need some help. A paramedic out here. They taking their slow fucking time. The house, we need some
I didn't catch that before.
Okay, man. All right.
Please.
You can hear his pass alarm off. They finally have gotten him out of the truck, or out of the garage. We went out and interviewed the residents,
Fearing the Benton Harbor fire.
and they said that they had to go tell the public safety officers who were standing up at the engine that they could hear him screaming for help.
Hello, this is 911.
Hello, again, it's on my third call. It's a fire on Jennings. I got the one fire truck over here. He's down. The house is on fire.
Okay, ma'am, the fire department's there.
One truck? Well, he's down.
Who's down?
The fireman.
Where's he at?
On the ground. 1034 Jennings.
I know that, but where at it by the house? Is he inside, out? Is he
He's outside of the house.
where at outside the house? Front, back, in the front of the house?
It looks like he's a police officer. Don't look like a damn fireman. He on the
Okay.
fence now.
Ma'am, the fire department's there and so are the police. Why are you, go get one of them, okay? We've got extra people headed that way.
You know, there's more of the video that goes on, but I guess this makes our point. The police officers there weren't fully in their gear. The neighbors look at them as police officers because they're not dressed properly. They weren't doing anything about it. It took a neighbor to call, and there was actually 3 calls from neighbors calling in help for that firefighter. This dispatcher is a county dispatcher, doesn't know what the hell she's doing, and it wouldn't have mattered because the system failed. It failed our guy. He is permanently disabled. He pretty much lost the bulk of most of his hands, both hands. He was trying to get out of the garage. I think he was reaching up trying to get the garage released to open up so he can get out. He had his gloves on. He still lost his hands. He was burned severely. He was in a burn center for months. He is home now, but he'll never work again. In this system, the union stood up and were fighting to show how this failed him and how he shouldn't have got hurt and everything. And the emergency manager there retaliated by taking our last two guys and forcing them to cross-train and forcing them to sign out of our union and join a police union. So we don't have a local there anymore as of, 2 weeks ago. So it's very tragic, but this is an example. This is a very low-income urban area that cannot handle a PSO system at all. And we'll show you how. No system should have a PSO system, but they have a ton of fires there. And people will die. We told them when they went to this 2 years ago someone would die, and we almost had that happen.
Obviously, it puts our firefighting functions at risk. Even the head of the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety, the chief of their department, tells you that when you combine these multiple disciplines, one of them is going to suffer, and it's almost exclusively in the fire service. It's always been in the fire service, everyone that we've come across. Your safety inspections are cut. It's almost non-existent. They might contract out if they do continue with them. That also hurts the fire attack pre-planning as well, because you get in there, you get to see during the inspections the layout of the buildings, exit, things of that nature. Public education, first thing that went in Benton Harbor. It's usually, cut right off at the beginning. Interestingly enough, though, McGruff, the crime dog, sticks around. In-service training. When we reviewed this fire, the two police officers that were there, it had a total of, one had 6 hours of training for the entire year prior, and the other had, I think, 8 hours. And when they were training, Mark found out that they were required to stay in police uniform, full gun belts and everything, because they still had to pull their police calls. EMS, there's none in Michigan that I'm aware of that incorporates EMS into a full public safety. There's one that has, Fraser Fire Department, that has a separate unit for their EMS. The only other one in the country I know is down in Texas, and it's very expensive for them down there. The community didn't care about the price. They said pay it. The cost, obviously, very expensive.
Do you want to keep going?
I'll keep going. Okay. I'm right there. It's costly. In Ypsilanti, another one in Michigan that attempted just recently to go public safety. I think they're on the bubble right now. We're starting to win that battle. They commissioned their own study through SEMCOGS, the Southeastern Michigan Council of Governments. They figured in that the overtime to train, the overtime for the backfill, the cost of the EMS training for the police officers, and it actually was cheaper to train the firefighter to become the police officer. More expensive by $2,000 more per person, yet they still said that they were going to save more money. And on this one, I think the firefighters were going to get almost a 15% pay bump. And it obviously isn't because of saving money why they were going to do it.
And remember this too, they always tout us as we need to do this for cost savings. Well, if you truly believed in this cross-training system, you needed to save money, which group would you cross-train? The firefighters are cheaper. They're never the ones that get cross-trained. I know out of all the systems, 2 people got cross-trained, and they were basically the moles that got them the degree. And the fact is, this is about maintaining police officers. You're going to hear it over and over again, about maintaining their jobs, their pay, their levels. That's why they train them, even though it's more costly.
Where they actually get public safety in and get it going, it's usually because they've bought it. They give pretty healthy incentives to get the guys on the fire side not to fight it. Purchasing of the equipment, also costly, because that ties right into the high turnover rates. Buy the new turnout gear for the people. They usually aren't there that long to even get it dirty. Morale, I don't know if you can see the guy in the back, kind of looks like he's hiding behind the telephone pole. Again, all these pictures we're showing actually...
That's the hydrant.
There's a what?
Hydrant there.
Oh, is he?
These
He
two
looked
guys
like
are
he's
cross-trained
hiding.
as police or PSO officers, so they should be in gear and they should be helping. This guy's covering them to make sure nobody shoots them or something.
Low morale's been cited. Kalamazoo got in trouble in their first year when they first switched over to public safety back in the 80s. Winston-Salem, North Carolina, said that 90% of their public safety officers blamed burnout for their high dropout rate and the low morale. Obviously, increase the cost to hire and train the new personnel. We're going to run into that. Another department in Michigan just went public safety. Their high turnover is going to be through attrition. Everybody they just trained is going to retire out within 5 years. Inadequate training is another. This actually is a public safety officer down here in the corner with a fire extinguisher, trying to assist the other guys. Obviously, not a whole lot of training involved there. It just goes, the fire side of the training goes to the back burner. Albion Public Safety Department, they have 4 hours of training every 2 weeks just to maintain what they call an effective fire suppression ability. And it's 4 hours every 2 weeks, yet they train their canine dog a minimum of 8 hours every week. They put more emphasis on the dog than they do the firefighters. Skills obviously are going to suffer during the cutbacks, the training. Again, we go out, we interview people, former public safety officers from Kalamazoo. He said they would send the police officers to Alaska for training, yet they wouldn't go outside of the department for any of the fire training. And again, they were required to stay in uniform and respond to police calls. Inadequate on-the-job experience goes right along with the training. These guys, in like the Benton Harbor call, in our department, I mean, both doors of the station, you would head out for a fire call, you'd see a car sitting out back and see them head the other way. Like, they don't want to be on the fire ground. They aren't going to get the experience. Again, majority of their time is in law enforcement. It obviously reduces the efficiency in fire suppression and rescue tasks. The Doug Bell's in the garage burning. The one public safety officer did have his turnout gear on. He had to run and get an SCBA. Once he got it on, he burned through that bottle on that SCBA, chopping through the door, the garage door, to get Doug Bell out of that garage. It was fiberboard, just thin fiberboard. He could have punched his hand through it. There's just no, I mean, the training, the efficiency, the rescue task isn't there.
That same guy transported himself to the hospital for smoke inhalation after the event while the fire is still burning.
Wrote himself up pretty nice, set himself up for a nice medal for a rescue. So, obviously, there's the loss of the firefighting team concept. It exchanges, obviously, the traditional team concept for individual action. The one thing that we try day in and day out on the fire ground is to get away from freelancing, and this just promotes it. Leads to unsafe acts, chaos, inefficiency, all that. And we all know what working as a team does. It builds the trust. We have other videos that we watch, didn't include here because we think you guys know how it actually works. You know, we have video of Lansing Fire locally, getting off an engine, performing a rescue. You can hear them formulate the plan as they're pulling up, get off, pull the line, go and perform the rescue, all within 4 minutes of time of alarm. And this next one, we'll see if we can get it to play a little better on this one, is Oak Park, Michigan. This is a fire that they had, I'm not sure the time, it'll pop up on here. Just to key it up a little bit for you. Oak Park is a fully integrated public safety department. Police are on duty. They do have a fire engine that they keep at the station, but they can't respond with that fire engine until somebody else comes to the station to relieve that police officer that's there. So this actually comes in from time of call.
Sir, report of a fatal or occupants trapped.
Yeah, 4 trapped. Yeah, it's rolling. And this is way from the beginning. The calls come into the center and somehow automatically keys into their cars. Normally we would, out of the 4 that were trapped, we'll go ahead and explain a little bit more while it's running up. Out of the 4, 3 ended up perishing in the fire. Normally, you know, we like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Well, you know, maybe if they'd gotten there earlier, it might not have made a difference. But if you can give these people 8 additional minutes and one of them ended up surviving, I'm telling you, multiples could have survived the fire if they'd had that 8 minutes. This is going to be a perfect example, and we can't argue the fact that they get on the scene first. They'll get there first. Our engines will not go as fast as you can hear this car running. Yeah, everybody can still hear this okay? The slide that comes after this one actually goes into role conflicts, and I think you're going to see this on when this police officer arrives on the scene.
He blocked his speed on us.
They must have a button to cut it out when they get to a certain spot. It just goes blank, then I have to record it. Probably could have trimmed a little bit of this part. All right, flames showing, they're on scene. Show your fire capabilities.
Notice the hydrant we just passed too.
See the big glow?
We have people inside the house in the last room on the left. Where's the house? Where's people at?
Apparently can't see the glow.
What room?
Nobody's getting gear on.
This one right here? On the far left. And then in the back over there.
Being told multiple times where the victims are.
Somebody inside!
They all carry full turnout gear and SCBAs in their cars.
They cut this room right here from the last one. A grandmother and mother. Somebody inside! Anybody inside? Hey, listen, we gotta get dressed. We gotta get dressed. Somebody in here. I'm going to get dressed.
They watch the clock, he's going to get dressed.
Nobody's responding inside.
You'll see the trunk lid close when he's finally got his gear on. There's somebody else running to get dressed. That was him closing the side door, I believe, on the car there.
Ma'am, have her come over here. How old is she? How old is she? How old is your mom? She's inside? That's how many people? How old is your grandma? How old is your grandma?
Last I knew, age didn't matter when we made rescues, but apparently it does today.
Establishing Northfield Command. Advise the disregard. We're not going to be able to put the tower up. Okay.
5 minutes into it so far.
No, we're going to that hydrant right there at the corner right there. 501, stop.
Like I said, the
Start
video
getting some lines out. Get some water.
video we had from Lansing Fire, from time of call, 4 minutes. They had the plan. They were coming off the engine. The rescue was effective.
This is a very urban area that borders Detroit. This isn't a rural community either. This is about 45,000 residents.
That was his trunk closing. There he's closing his car. Now he's heading up there. Just got his gear on.
No. Yeah, go ahead. I'm at the hydrant. Let me know when you're ready for water. Here's the hydrant hook. Yeah.
You know, since we got this, I would say almost 90% of our Freedom of Information requests of PSO departments have been denied. We always request the dash cam videos, and
501's ready for water. Seal light out here.
this was the last one we got.
All right, Andy, here it comes. Yeah, we're ready. Go ahead.
They still haven't put any water on the fire yet.
Nobody's made entry yet either. Go ahead.
We've tried. They keep denying it, saying it's under investigation. It's at a point where we have to decide, you know, how much money we want to spend in legal costs to fight them through the system. Although there is legislation in Michigan that they're talking about putting a review panel in place for that.
Didn't this cost us like $750 to get this?
Oh, it was, I think it's $1,200 with everything, I thought, by the time we got everything.
Let them know what we got and have them handle our police runs if they can.
We talked earlier about not being able to handle their own stuff. He's saying it right there. Have somebody else handle our calls. I'm sorry, you had another question?
And when you get time, I'll take 4 for callback. Okay.
This video's almost done.
We're just about. I'll go, there it is right there. Water, they just got water on a fire 9 minutes into it. They just started to spray it.
They just entered the fire.
It goes on and the same thing, and it's 14 minutes before they get the first person out. So it's another 5 minutes after they start to spray the water on the fire. Oh, I'm sorry, did you have another question? Okay. Role conflicts, I think you kind of heard that in the questioning, you know, asking the age of the patients and things of that nature. To throw another mix into it, once you get the PD supervisors that show up on scene, they tend not to listen to the fire side. They follow the police, just adds more to the chaos. And that just reinforces that there. Just because you're a good police officer doesn't mean you're going to be a good firefighter. And we're not saying any of these police officers are bad at what they do on the police side. They suck when it comes to the fire side. It's just absolutely terrible. This is another Michigan department. This is just a real short one. And again, this stuff is typical of what we're seeing. It's not the outside or the odd occurrence. This is typical of what we see.
Please,
them to change to their fire gear.
Officer 4 only has his boots and pants.
He has one officer on a low jack and one on a robbery detail. As soon as he gets personnel available, he'll send to that location.
Again, that's, you know, they're talking about the pants. The one public safety officer in Benton Harbor just had his coat on. When we were there investigating that fire, another fire call came in and we all jumped in Mark's car and I went over to see if we could see how they were doing it. And sure enough, there's a guy just with his turnout coat on. Police uniform, polyester pants under it. Somebody else in a jumpsuit. The one firefighter full turnout gear.
One other example just happened in Michigan a few weeks ago. It was in Bay City, Michigan. It's another one of our locals that just got forced into a PSO system. We still have some of our guys there. And what happened was a fire comes in with reported occupant trapped. 2 police officers, PSO officers with gear and air pack in their trunks, pull up on the scene first. They sit in their cars. A neighbor runs up to the police officer and says, there's someone trapped. He goes, firefighters will be here shortly. And he goes, he kept pushing them. And he actually was in the paper and he talked about this experience. He kept pushing the cop, and the cop drove away to the next corner and blocked traffic. And then another one was talking on his cell phone. Another neighbor went up to him, a woman, and he just kept talking on his phone and told her the same thing, that they'll be here shortly. They sat in their cars, never even dressed out, not even getting ready to go in when they got there. That person died. Our guys got him out, but it was too late at that point. Now, who knows if we could have saved them if the police officer would have went in, but you know what we would have done in that situation? It's because they don't want to do the job. They want to keep their job.
Places, and this is proven definitely true in Benton Harbor, where you have a higher police and fire call volume. PSO departments just tend to be inadequate. Like Mark talked about earlier, they're in, you know, basically bedrooms type communities, 20,000 or less, and they rely on surrounding departments. Workplace safety guideline. We talked about that before. This is one of the new departments. This is one of the new departments.
Another one of our locals.
He's doing a great job hitting the chimney. Actually, it came off of Facebook. They were touting what a great job he was doing and what a big help he was for them. In Michigan, and I'm sure with the OSHA states as well, that Michigan we have MyOSHA. This is a violation. You know, once they're trained, they have to be in full SCBA, full turnout gear, fully protected to fight the fire. Normally, I would have thought, at least before today's class, this would have been an interior attack fire anyhow. So, another Michigan, this is up in Escanaba, up in the UP. Public safety officer doing a great job fighting that fire. I'm sure he's fully protected, not breathing a single fume in, probably holding his breath the whole time. But it's like the rules don't even apply to him. Number of consolidated departments, kind of talked about this earlier. Mark touched on it. In the United States, in the fully cross-trained area, there's only 82 departments. And 35 of those, almost half, are in Michigan alone. We've got a current list if you guys want to check with your states to find out how many that we have, or if there's some that you know of in your states. Kind of check with us after the class to help us update our list as well. California, we talked about earlier. I think it's pronounced Rohnert Park is one of the public safety departments. And a great write-up a couple months back on that department is that their surrounding departments won't send staff in without a chief officer or command officer going with them now.
I actually live there.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I work there.
Did you see the article I was referencing? It was in the paper a while back. Right. And the other one is Sunnyvale, California. And that's the big new one that they're touting over Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo used to be the king. Everybody's talking about Sunnyvale now. And they're clustered in the United States, I'm sorry, they're clustered in Michigan. And one of the IFF, you know, they asked, well, why is that, you know, so many in Michigan? We've got the Police Officers Association of Michigan, is the police union, one of the police unions there in Michigan. And they actually use public safety as a membership drive. They will go out there and they will get, we've gotten copies of letters where they send out to their local police units and tell them to recommend to go public safety. We'll boost their membership, we'll help secure their jobs and keep it safe. So they're always putting it right in the ear of management that way. Some of the early warning signs. Did you want to?
Yeah, I can talk about this. What we tell our locals in Michigan is if you hear about any talk about PSO, you got to get on it. There's no time to wait. What happens is the police, by the time you hear about it, have already done all their work behind the scenes. So the things you got to watch for are police taking cuts. ICMA is now national. They will get in there. If you have any studies done, if you have city managers talking, it's on their website. They can find it. They can see this as a tool. And the police officers see it. And if that's the case, you've got to get on it right away and educate your city leaders and your public. Because again, city leaders can be convinced early on because on paper it may sound good to them. All these departments claim huge savings right off the bat. And when city council members are struggling to balance their budgets, they look at something like that. And they hear consolidation. They think, well, this is something we need to work on. Once the vote's taken by city council, though, we've learned it's become personal. And we've not been able to stop one of the departments once the city council's taken an actual vote to go PSO. So that's why you got to get in early.
It's like the iceberg. If you're catching just a little bit of it, there's so much hidden below the surface that's already been going on. If you're hearing about it, it's been happening for a while.
Here's an example. Monty talked about that email. This is the president of one of our police unions. This is an email he sent to the city manager in the city of Saginaw. We did stop PSO there for the time being. They were talking about outsourcing the sheriff department. Now, I don't know how this math works. Lay off 20 firemen, hire 20 new public safety officers. You have 20 more law enforcement officers, and you will save 80%, or save the cost, and the firefighters are obviously on the couch 80% of the time. This is what they say all the time. Well, PSO officers, because they're dual role, make more money. We're a collective bargaining state. They're going to be paid as comparables are paid. There's no way you can get rid of firemen who make less than police officers to start with in Michigan on average, and then replace them with PSO officers who expect to save any money whatsoever. But this is the logic we deal with. It obviously stems from concern of public safety costs. As cities in Michigan face the economic downturn, and we got hit hard, they eliminated rec programs, libraries, and all this other stuff. So what happens is your public safety budget becomes more of an impact on your overall budget. So where we used to maybe be 50, 60% of the budget, we're now 80%. And people portray that as somehow our costs are increasing. Well, they're not. It's a portion of it. And because the city's breaking down to just core functions, they're getting rid of some of the extra stuff. So it's obviously going to make us to be a greater percentage of the budget. But that's a push by city councils then to try to balance. People, for some reason, this is what I don't understand still to this day. All the surveys we do, firefighters are much higher on the surveys of favorability than police officers. But for some reason, people are more afraid of crime than they are fire. This goes back to also not letting people know what we do. Police always do. How many times you had a car accident or a fire and there's a police officer talking to the news? And my battalion chiefs all along would always say, we got our perimeter, our fire scene. Keep those media people away from me. Our department's changed. Our chief said, you will go over there and talk to the media. We're tired of the police standing there talking for us, because the police officer would be glad to go talk to them and talk about how they responded. Feasibility studies. This is a very scary area. Especially ICMA is out there doing these feasibility studies. If you see them, you have to contact the IFF right away. Try to get hold of the IFF before they even go out to bid for studies. Work on your council to educate them why certain companies shouldn't be utilized, like ICMA. The IFF has a tremendous amount of resources on why ICMA is horrible. And we can, in most cases, if we get it early enough, we can make sure that they don't go with ICMA. ICMA is about the only study firm that actually promotes PSO.
It worked out well in Holland, Michigan. They were studying it. The union president there went immediately to a city council, said, I want to be involved in the selection process of who's going to do our study. He got involved. They use a company other than ICMA. They just recently decided with a vote that they would continue on They did go administrative only in public safety, but that's as far as they're going. They're keeping separate police and fire.
It will cause erosion of the two different departments, separate identities. Watch for that early administration too. If they do consider transferring all the administrative functions to a public safety director, it does make you more vulnerable, obviously, for a complete consolidation. Watch when your chiefs are retiring. If you're having a tough time making budget and your chief's leaving, that's a prime time to be very careful, and you need to be talking to your city council about getting a new fire chief. Some things that we're very concerned about right now is MSU, Michigan State University, is doing a study. There is a professor there of criminal justice that went to the Department of Justice and got a grant. He wanted to do a study. He got, was it like $3.5 million to do a study on consolidated police and fire departments. He uses that term, but it's the cross-training, the PSO departments, and he wants to put out the true facts out there. Well, we were concerned right from the start, so the IFF got involved, and FOP nationally, Fraternal Order Police doesn't support PSO either, so they've been partners with us on this also. They went to the Department of Justice and expressed their concerns with the biasness of this. The Department of Justice assured us this would be an unbiased study. We're about 2.5 years into the study now. It's a 3-year study. Not once has he contacted fire service professionals. He's not talked to anybody. He's got 14 people on his research staff. Not one is a firefighter. Not one has any experience in firefighting. One guy says, well, I work for a private company doing studies, and I studied a fire department one time. That's his experience in the whole thing. We met with him again. We brought up these biases. He still continues down this path to the point where the last thing we were involved with is he wanted us to do videos. We refused. And IFF and FOP partnered up, and the fire chiefs nationally partnered up to express our displeasure with this. And it's still going forward. This will be a national study. This guy is out there all around the country. He's been in California. He's been in Texas. He's been in Ohio. He's been around promoting his PSO system. So we're watching this when we're working. IFF's working heavily on it. We're putting whatever pressure we can. We're going to be going through senators on the Homeland Security Committee to try to put pressure on the Department of Justice. But this is a major threat coming up. Just like we said, ICMA is national and they're pushing it. If this comes out, this will impact you. And all you need is to have those right conditions we talked about, cutting police, budget cuts, and you're going to be facing this system. Develop your own strategy. You have to assess your situation carefully. Certainly there's a debate. Do I start talking about this and educating everybody right off the bat and actually get people promoted to it if it's not something the cops are even on board with? Yes, you need to get out there and educate people. The police, we've seen it all along. We've even had departments where there were a good relationship between the police and fire. But I will tell you, 100% of the time, when push comes to shove, in the end, they will agree to do it. When they're facing layoffs, they'll agree to go to the fire academy. You know what they'll say? I'm going to do police work 95% of the time. You know what? I'm going to be on a traffic stop when that fire comes in. Look at that guy running up there with his gear in the last minute. He didn't have an air pack. He has no intention of going in a fire. He brought his gear. He can stand around and pull a hose. And how many times our PSOs got trained in departments where we have a local, and they come in and say, okay, we've got to fit test you. And they said, oh, no. We were told we're just pulling hose. You're going in. That's the reality of the system. So you got to watch it carefully because they will fight their butts off to keep their jobs. Always, always, always participate. Too many times we've seen locals say, hell no, I don't want to even consider PSO. It's not happening. Question? We had one where we had a video that showed a guy responding. It was an auto aid with a career department. He was in a police car, followed the fire engine from that career department all the way in. It was a fully involved garage. They got on the scene. Of course, our firefighters from the other city got there. They had their gear already on. They jumped off. They got dressed. They put the fire, or they didn't get dressed. They already dressed. They pulled the line. They put the fire out. This guy went back to his car, got dressed. By the time he was dressed, the fire was out. Took him 7 minutes or something to actually get fully bunked out with his air pack. We brought that to attention. They said he was disciplined, but they wouldn't say what.
The Benton Harbor Fire, Officer Johnson, the PSO that heroically saved firefighter Bell from the garage door after going through his air pack and continued to chop through the door until he was overcome, and these are his words, overcome with smoke. Then he took himself off the scene because of smoke inhalation. He got an award for it, even though he wasn't dressed out and wasn't with him. They were standing up at the engine, just shooting the stuff with each other while he's in there fighting it himself. Now, the closest to discipline there is the public safety director. Was escorted after the OSHA came in and investigated. He was escorted off the premises because he did not have the proper training. He claimed ignorance, didn't know that he had to have fire training to be the public safety director, and he is scheduled to challenge that state test on August 29th, I think. So that's the closest thing, and it wasn't really punishment. I mean, paid leave for the whole time he's off. So.
All summer long. So your answer is no, they cover up. They cover up, make excuses every time. This Bay City one where the two guys sat there and watched while the person was in the house burning, the public safety director got on there and defended, said our guys did everything right. And once the firefighters got there, they assembled and they went in as a team and they did perfect. They didn't. And then he says, my other officer, he said one of them went in. The other one, he says he went up to the patient when they pulled him out of the house and he waved EMS over. Good job. So he did what he was expected of him.
We met with the former assistant city manager for Kalamazoo in charge of public safety. And we had seen this before, and he confirmed it for us. Their internal affairs department at Kalamazoo didn't deal with the police corruption. Their sole job was to be a PR engine for the department. There wasn't anything bad that happened there. It was their job to make sure that there's a positive face on everything public safety.
They always put a spin on it, and they don't care about the system, that's the thing. We just had, quick nurse story, they don't care about the training. We have a challenge test in Michigan where you can challenge to get the fire training. You only have to attend the academy. If you seem to know what you're doing, you can get sponsored and challenge it. That's what they do. They take a class to know enough to just challenge a test. And they're getting away with it. We're trying to change the system to stop that. It was never meant to be for that, obviously. And we just caught them going through a fire academy the other day, and their deputy director gave them all the answers, the questions and the answers for the final. Nothing's being done about it. They said that's perfectly acceptable practice to give you all the questions and answers. So they don't care about the training. They don't care about the service. They laugh about it. It's just a joke to them. So, get all your facts. We have a ton of facts. A lot of this is anecdotal we're showing you right now. Just we're talking about the system, how it works. But we do have a lot of facts to back that up. When we created this whole document to present to our governor, when our governor was promoting this system, he was actually giving grant money to go to this. We presented a 2-inch binder of facts. He stopped this process once he received all that. He actually took that binder and went to the Police Officers Association of Michigan and said, you're promoting PSO, where's your facts? We're giving you your chance to give the rebuttal. And he goes, we're not doing that because we have none. He admitted it, the president. He doesn't care about the facts. He cares about his guys keeping his job. So we even went to Kalamazoo, and you see where they save $7.2 million a year? That's the same city that was going around for years saying they're saving $3 million a year by going to PSO. They made that claim, and they were out there constantly perpetuating that savings. When we actually looked at it and did the facts and used comparables and used contracts, and it came out to be $7.2 million more, the governor's office took that and went to Kalamazoo and said, how does this not match up? Where's their number? Explain to us why the firefighters' numbers are wrong. They're like, we can't, they're right. So now you don't hear about Kalamazoo. They've gone off the radar because they got called out. It's all lies, all of it. List your friends. People don't support this. We've gone to the ballot issue on this twice in the last 2 years. Voted down 3-1. Residents do not support this. So if you can get it somehow on a ballot and get the process go that route, that's better. But what happens all the time is this happens in closed-door sessions, not in front of the public. They don't want to debate it. They do whatever they can to shut it down, and they jam it through. So keep the members informed. Keep your members informed. Like I said, voter initiatives are good. Remember, the IFF has a lot of resources to help you out with this, and we're going to go through some of them.
It's an auto start.
Is that a video?
Yep.
This is a video that we did a couple years ago with IFF. You can play this in your social media.
Imagine a house fire, smoke was rolling out the back, and I had a public safety officer right behind me.
You have a copy on your
Stretched
desk
the line,
in front of you of this.
Suited up, scotted up, pulled an electrical cord line for lights, and he still hadn't had his gear on yet.
They found the child a day or two later underneath the rubble in the middle of the house after it collapsed on top of him under the stairwell.
Police officers were very apprehensive. The morale, it varied from, I think, officer to officer. A lot of them, once they found out what was truly involved, didn't really want to do it.
We count on firefighters to save lives and protect property. But now, some misguided politicians think they can combine the time-critical functions of fire and emergency medical services with the crime-fighting role of police officers. The creation is a hybrid public safety officer, or PSO.
When you get on a situation, we are there for the law enforcement area, they're there for the life-saving area. It's just too much for one person to do. It's too much responsibility for one person to hold.
In a public safety department where it's police, fire, and EMS, you're asking that individual to be proficient in all three disciplines of police, fire, and emergency medical services.
When a career fire department shows up, they jump off the engine, with their air pack on, gear on, ready to go. When a public safety department shows up, they show up with usually one guy driving an engine and a couple coming on police cars. The equipment that I wear on a daily basis that I'm wearing right now, ballistic vest, gun belt, all that stuff, that's for a police officer. What is the plan for all of that?
You start stripping down in the middle of the parking lot. You go to the back to the trunk of your car. You take off your gun belt, take off your bulletproof vest.
That takes them a lot longer. They're never ready to work when they arrive on the scene.
Whether attacking a fire, rescuing trapped victims, or treating serious medical conditions, the effort requires skill and coordinated decision-making among all responders.
To fight a fire and to do most of the things that we attempt to do for the public requires a tremendous amount of teamwork. And I think that people arriving on the scene that aren't even prepared or dressed for the situation and not familiar with the crews presents a safety hazard that I would not be in favor of.
You're putting the public at risk, because if you don't have a full crew showing up together to do the job, you're talking, you know, delay in time, seconds, minutes, and longer.
The result of not attacking a fire early can be devastating, as fires typically double in size every 2 minutes. This rapid growth also increases the risk to civilians who may be trapped, and for responders who must engage in rescue and suppression.
What ends up happening is people lose their lives and property burns down, and a very trivial small fire quickly grows into something catastrophic.
Having the right training for emergency medical response and patient care is critical, a fact often overlooked by those advocating a change to public safety officers.
The public safety director who's trying to implement it, or the police chief who's trying to get public safety going, will train his people as medical first responders, which is basically a step above first aid. They can put a Band-Aid on, they can, you know, splint some fractures, and he might train 30 of those people, but he will eliminate 15 paramedics.
A paramedic can see and recognize that you're actually having a heart attack and get the cardiac team that can stop that heart attack.
Paramedics can defibrillate, intubate, push cardiac medications.
Optimum response time for both fire and medical emergencies is 4 to 6 minutes. This allows responders to intervene to stop the emergency in 8 minutes or less, which is the maximum intervention time to prevent brain death in a cardiac arrest, or to prevent flashover in a room and contents fire. The capability to have the right number of responders ready to work at a moment's notice can be lost in a cost-cutting model.
We don't need anybody for traffic detail. We need somebody down there with some fire gear.
The personnel on the traffic has the fire gear. Have them to change to their fire gear.
Officer Flores only has his boots and pants.
He has had one officer on a low jack and one on a robbery detail. As soon as he gets personnel available, he'll send to that location.
When the elected officials look at this from a financial situation only, they usually make decisions that are not really in the best interest sometimes of the public safety. And that response time for fire and EMS is crucial. That 4 to 6 minute response is crucial. You need people.
We would like to have somebody on the scene at about the 4-minute mark, anywhere in our city. And further, we would like to put 16 to 20 firefighters on the fire ground in probably a 4 to 8 minute window. In the consolidated department in our area, the most we're going to have on duty at any one time is about 6 to 10 people. The system has proven to be more costly in most cases. It's proven to greatly degrade the level of fire service that the community provides.
In reality, in a fire department, you're only as good as your training division. And it's not just sporadic training, it's daily training. You've got to take all the people in the fire site and train them to be police officers. That costs money. And then you got to take all the police and train them on the fire site.
It doesn't work. It looks good on paper, but it doesn't work.
The value of the ongoing and regimented training required of firefighters and paramedics is that it helps them to resolve lengthy and complex situations, as is the nature of fire and medical emergencies. This concept can be at odds with the training and skills police use for crime fighting.
Come up to a major car accident and entrapment. Who handles traffic control? Who handles the DUI arrest for a drunk driver? Who handles the medical treatment? Who handles the extrication? Who handles the fuel spill on the ground? There's so many roles to play, and that role becomes greatly confused. What do we handle first? What do we prioritize?
They say it puts more firefighters on the scene if there's a public safety department, and in turn it really doesn't, because police officers do police officer work first, then they become firefighters second.
If I respond as a medic to a person down and they're bleeding, I treat them. If they were shot, the police officer has to look at it as a crime scene and you don't really move the person. Those few seconds could mean the life of that person.
Residents typically will experience an emergency situation once in their lifetime, a situation which will require a police, fire, EMS response. When that happens, they expect you to be there as quick as possible and provide a very effective system to handle their emergency. That's not always the case in a public safety system. The bottom line is if you don't have the resources there, those jobs don't get done. And when those jobs don't get done, ultimately it takes longer to stabilize that incident, but there's also more property loss.
It means longer response times. It means less training. It means these individuals are required to do more with less.
It doesn't pay. The cost is too great.
For firefighters, public safety is saving lives, protecting property, and being prepared to respond quickly and efficiently to fires, medical emergencies, hazardous materials incidents, and multi-casualty disasters. For police officers, it is apprehending and transporting criminals and maintaining public order. Two very different roles that must be kept separate to function properly, and yet must work in concert to keep our communities safe.
Okay, that's an example of the video. It's great to play on YouTube if you got a community that's facing this, or you can send it out through Facebook. You can actually run in cable channels. We've done all of that, and it's worked well in a lot of those communities, especially when we had a ballot issue. I'm going to run through these last things here quick because we're running out of time. We were about 10, 15 minutes short. You have a question in the background?
Yeah, I was wondering, I know a lot of this is probably money-driven, budget-driven, but have you found in your work that there's a population threshold that they use, or number requires a year that they base it on that in order to make it work?
Very good question. The question is, have we found any correlation to population size on the communities that actually look to go to this? Now, the largest one we've seen is Kalamazoo at 75,000. Of the 35 in Michigan, there's only 5 that exceed 15,000 in residents. All the rest, the other 30, are less than that. So it tends to be for those smaller departments, but we're seeing a huge trend. Like I said before, it used to be smaller cities, low call volumes. But we're seeing this trend now with cities like Bay City that's much greater than 15,000 and has a higher call volume. So they're trying to push above that, but too many times they get fires right away and their system blows up in their face, and that's what they're seeing. So it tends to be the smaller departments that are more vulnerable, definitely. The things available from the IFF, always have a municipal financial analysis. This is a given on any economic issue in your city. You need to have one done each year. They're real easy to do. GIS is a great tool to show response times, and you can show the difference with a PSO model with that. Comparative data, we've got a ton of data. A lot of you guys may not have too much data in your state, but certainly contact us and IFF and we'll get that to you. Public relations assistance, the IFF has a great PR department, great. And when you're running these videos and you're running door-to-door campaigns and ballot issues and stuff, they are the best tool to use. So contact your DVP and they'll get you in contact with PR, and they're a great, tremendous resource to use. Politics, certainly. This is a political issue. You've got to stand your politicians. Too many times we've got locals who come and said, hey, we got this PSO fight, we need help. I said, okay, how many council members you got on your side? Well, none. They won't talk to us. It's a very vulnerable position to be in. Politics is something we always have to be involved in. Legal side. Remember, your contracts protect you. If you need to put in some type of exclusivity, we recommend that. If you face any potential threat down the road, put that in your contract that that's your bargaining work. Make sure that that's clear if you have a collective bargaining state. Subject matter specialists, people just like Monty and I. Monty's gone around a couple different states. We've got people in our state that we have, like we said, a PSO committee, that this committee almost meets monthly and works on this issue for years. We have a tremendous amount of resources, very experienced guys. We've got guys that actually have been on PSO departments as firefighters and transition out of it, and they're on regular career departments. So they know the system, they know how it doesn't work. EMS. If you can transport, we've talked about this before, transport helps you in this battle. Transport is something your community loves, and there's no PSO departments that hardly ever use it. And when they do, it's got to be full-time firefighter medics there to use the system, or to run the system. So keep EMS. That's a key to preventing PSO. Amalgamation with other fire departments. Obviously, the bigger you are. If you're a small department, can you join with another one? Can you do a fire authority? Can you do a district to try to save yourself? That will help also prevent that. Collective bargaining, like I said, add that protection in there. Exclusivity of bargaining for your work. Don't let anybody else do it. Engage with the Department of Budget Planning. Too many times our locals don't go to the budget hearings. We don't know about what's being put in the budget till it's too late. Be aware of your proposed budgets. Know when your council or your city council or boards are doing their budget talks, and be there. Usually there's not even one resident at those meetings, but they're open meetings that you should be at. Catch it early is what we're saying. When you're consolidating, obviously you got to dig deeper and find out. We said always be involved though. Always be a part of it. If they exclude you from it, then you're going to be in a more vulnerable position. You can fight it better by being at the table. Know your size, your demographics, obviously for the reasons we talked about. What is the driving force behind that consolidation attempts? What are the costs, short and long term? Benefits, budgetary force behind consolidation. These are. Know the costs. And we can break down those costs for you. We can work with you to try to show what it would cost to train a police officer versus a firefighter. It's almost always more expensive to train a police officer. That's a good argument to make as to their intentions. What is the 5-year plan? How will they handle contracts? Usually the police are given a lot of bonuses to get into the system. Here's some position statements, which we have also, the International Association of Fire Chiefs, IFF. There's another police organization that has a statement. Work on it in your state, getting your fire chiefs locally to make statements on this issue if you're facing this fight. That always helps. The IFF has the manual here online that you can get that gives you a lot of these facts. But the number one thing is contact your district vice president as soon as you hear anything about this.